All right, what's going on, you guys? Today I have a very special guest for you. I have my boy Irvin here. He actually just got first at the Santa Clara Regionals this past weekend, playing his Kashtira list. And unfortunately, we couldn't record this in person, but we've been buddies for a while now, and I'm very proud of him, and I'm glad that he was able to really put the deck together and put it to work this past weekend. And so he's here to talk about his thought process on the deck, what tech elements he decided to go with, and all that kind of stuff. So, Irvin, is there anybody you want to like shout out for this list, or anybody you want to like mention specifically?
Yeah, just when it comes to the list itself, it was finalized just through a bunch of playtesting. But I do want to shout out like just all the homies, all my friends for coming over and allowing me to play test, and like Oscar, Adonis, Chris. Those are the guys that I mainly think about when it comes to actual play testing. But then I have people like you who just like just theory from once in a while, just theory about deck lists and stuff and tech choices, and there's too many people to shout out. Oh,
Yeah,
and obviously
definitely.
my girl too for being patient with me and letting me play. I was telling her I was going to be grinding locals from like July up until August, and she understood. So
That's good. That's good. What made you go with Kashtira over like any other deck?
I stopped playing Cash after the ban list, and I just played Dragon Link. But what put me back onto Cash was playing at that 3v3 in Modesto and just playing against Cash for like 6 rounds in a row. And then shout out to Curtis for waxing me in Swiss and then top cut like 2-0 both times, just making a very it was just like he made me realize how strong the Cash engine really is. And when you put that together with the non-engine and simplify the game state, like Imperm here and Ash here, a Book of Moon, these are all cards that are really strong one for ones. And when you pair that with the Cash engine with like Fenrir, Unicorn, the field spell, those cards are insane, and they take the match over from there. So I was like, you know what, let me give Cash a try, and I really wanted to do well for the event, and I just wanted to get my invite. I didn't think I was going to win it out.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. And I've always said the same thing. I think the in-engine cash is so strong. Even like going second, it's still a completely like viable deck just with how well it trades with other cards. But so do you want to kind of go into the cards you chose and your list?
Yeah, let's go over that. So for the Cash lineup, it's really standard. Just many deck profiles you've seen already. The 4 field spell, 2 Unicorn, the 3 Fenrir, and then I'm playing 3 Rise Heart. 1 Ogre, and the 1 SK. So it's usually like some lists. I've seen a lot of deck profiles recently, like up until the event, that are playing 2, and they're not playing Ogre as well, and they're just playing like SK like this. But something that I realized is play testing the deck for like a month straight was that you break when you don't see monsters, and all these cards were insane. I was seeing whether it's like obviously opening like the 6 1-card starters, or seeing this plus like a Theosis, or seeing this plus a Breathless full combo, or seeing Theosis with an Ogre as well. And Ogre really came up for me so many times throughout the event and during playtesting, where this deck is like I said, it has really strong one for ones, and you will simplify the game state. And it sometimes you're like, I don't want to lose to a nib, I don't want to lose to these dumb blowout cards, so you'll go like I would bring this out in a simplified game state, go for battle, attack, effect, and look at your top 5, and just like see what you're gonna draw for turn, right? Stack it, and then play accordingly from there when you're on the crackback.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that ogre's a really strong card too, just because with the under planet it gets so big, it's hard to deal with sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In tandem with the field spell and the other attributes, it's unique. It's a water attribute. I got this card like up to like plus 400, right? So you're looking at 32. It's a really big monster. And then just the rest is just the spells, the 3 birth, and
Most broken card in the game.
Yeah, birth is I don't need to explain birth. Yeah, and then 3 prosperity. I kind of consider this a pseudo engine, because hopefully reveal 6, but sometimes revealing 6 doesn't get you.
It's so broken.
Yeah, prosperity was a crazy card, especially post side once you're done comboing. And then for my non-engine, what I was expecting to play against based off of all the locals I went to, I was playing against a lot of Cash, Purely, and Labyrinth. So I built my deck just to beat those decks. So that's the only decks I was worried about. I didn't really care about like Despia and Dragon Link and all the other Rescue Ace, all the for fun decks. I was just worried about those 3 big decks. So I built my deck to beat those decks. So for the non-engine 3 Shifter, 3 Ash, 3 Infirm, 3 Lance, and then 6 books. And then the purely matchup, you're playing 9 books because this is a pseudo. Book. Just interaction with the trap. Yeah, these cards, like I said, like besides Book of Eclipse and Shifter, these cards are all like super strong 1-for-1s, right? So like 1-for-1, 1-for-1, and then you pair that up with your cash engine going second, and you just like, it's really hard to lose. So Lance was insane. I kept track of how many times I resolved Lance throughout the event, and every time I resolved it, I won. So like, just like what before I was playing Lance, I was playing like Talents, but that's one of my favorite cards, and I was scared to play the event without it. But from all my testing, I realized that, you know, I could have Talents. I wasn't getting hand trapped a lot, so then Talents was dead. And then when I'm going into their turn, I'm trying to break their board, and I use all my non-engine, and then I start committing my cash engine, I lose to a single book.
True.
Book of Eclipse. But the Lances came in, and they hit hard when they did.
Was there anything in the main that you would consider changing or taking out? I'm a big fan of like keeping out like the cash prep, and then even like the terraforming, just because of how scared this deck is kind of to droll if you don't see Shifter. But is there anything that you would probably swap out after playing the event?
To be honest, I'm always changing my deck list, like just trying to optimize it as best as I can, and I really felt like this was like the strongest version of the deck that I've put together, and I really liked how it performed. I would keep the list the same. I really liked it.
Okay. Do you want to go over the extra deck next, or the side?
We can go over the extra deck.
Okay.
So for the extra deck, I'll go with, let's start off with Baron. One Baron, the Down Nerd. Let's go with all the 1-ups. Red Flare, Big Eye, Draco Sack. This card, the Infinitrack Mountain Smasher. This card was really cool. Like, you know, you just beat over a monster, you take the monster you destroyed, and you make a 4 Masters. That. And then for the prosperity targets, Infinitrack Goliath, the Skull Knight and the Skull Wagon, and then 2 Zeus, 2 Shangri-La, and the 1 Arise card.
What does the wagon do? I've seen the rest, but the wagon I'm not super familiar with.
Oh yeah. So the wagon's the MST. These are all, so the reason why I'm playing, MST, and this is a monster pop. The reason why I'm playing these, this one's mandatory, the Goliath. The reason why I'm playing these two though, is I was trying out, what's it called? Entis and Garura, right? But when, like I said, I was playing local 6 times a week for almost 2 months. And like the Garura is an RNG draw, and the Entis is, you don't always get value for it, because when they're outing your Rise Heart, it's like through a kaiju or a book, and you know, by then like they already set up their board. But with these cards being in the grave on the crack pack, hopefully you do get a turn back. And in this deck, I noticed I was getting my turns back. You know, I'm able to start off my turn by breaking their board using my graveyard. So
that makes sense.
I was a really big fan of these cards, and the one card that I had never summoned up until the event was Red Flare, and it came up where, you know, you don't have to go for OTK. You play around Nib, you know, summon 3 big bodies on the 4th summon, do a bunch of damage on the 4th summon, you summon Niz, and, you know, you put them on better having the out.
Makes sense. Anything in the extra deck you would change, or do you feel like they all kind of had their place?
Yeah, I used everything in my extra deck, actually.
Yeah, no, besides
the fossil, I didn't use this.
I actually like that tech over Entis, because yeah, you're right. If you get the crackback, then you can like pop their board and start breaking the board more easily, as opposed to like, if they just like kaiju or Kurikara your guy, then it doesn't really matter.
Side deck. So again, from all the testing, dude, I played so many matches, and game 1s. I don't know if you can let me know if you agree with me. I feel like Cash game 1 like just auto wins without the side cards that your opponent's gonna put in with you.
Yeah, if you're not like main decking like the hard outs like Kurikaras, kaijus, etc., it's really hard to deal with that board for most decks, unless they have like built-in outs, which I think is really beneficial for a game 1.
Yeah, exactly. So from all my testing, you know, I was winning my game 1s, but all these locals I was going to, I was getting waxed like game 2s and game 3s, and it was due to all the blowouts. So like post side, you know, none of your main deck engine, none of this negates anything. They don't say like no to like any of the blowout cards. So I went with the strat of siding in cards that are chain of volt or that stay in my hand and they don't lose to blowouts. The only card that does lose to a blowout is the Cosmic Example, obviously. But I went with hand traps and the D barriers. So post side, basically what I'm doing is I'm siding out all the cards that lose to the crazy blowout cards, and I'm keeping cards in my hand. And I'm keeping cards in like post out. I'm keeping cards in like Lance, Ash, the shifters, obviously, and I'm siding out cards like books and imperms, and I'm putting these cards in. Depending, it's obviously it's matchup dependent.
Mm-hmm. Sheesh, max rarity, extra deck, side deck.
Like you right now.
Is there anything in the side that you felt like wasn't as impactful?
The D barriers. The D barriers were mostly there for the D barriers were there for purely, but the reason why they didn't come up for me is because I never got to side of them in. I won most of my dice rolls, so I'm winning game ones, and then game two I'm going second. So these never went in.
Oh, that's
I only
fair.
went second. I only went like first post side twice throughout the whole event, and I didn't put these in. I was putting in mostly these cards, but all of these cards did their job. Besides the D barriers, everything like was so solid. I've sided in Nib versus Cash. I nibbed two of my Cash opponents. I nibbed Salad in top 8 in game 2. Bells came in versus I played against IKEA Labyrinth, and that's the deck I was mostly scared of. Shout out to Chris for being on. He's just on the Floodgate Labyrinth version. He's not on IKEA, but I was really scared of that matchup, and I wanted to put in cards that just help me. I have another set of Ashes basically, plus the 3 Cosmics.
Droll's kind of crazy in the side going into the mirror though, right? Because both you guys are setting out D shifter too, so it's almost always live.
Yeah, basically, yeah. For the mirror and also shifter. I mean, Joel also. Thank you to Adonis for reminding me that Flunder was the deck. And in round 7 or 6, either 6 or 7, I played against Flunder, and I was thinking before the event to cut these cards out. I was like, I was playing Joel and Nib for the combo decks, right? Those crazy combo decks, like the new Brave Synchro deck, right? You need to open a flood. I need to open this, or a shifter. And I was like, when I was siding, I was like, man, I feel like I'm siding so much already, and I kind of want to play other cards. I was thinking of these being Moonlit Chills, but then Adonis reminded me, he was like, hey, what about Flunder? And I was like, oh yeah, Flunder is so scary. And this card won me game 2 versus Flunder, allowing me to get a game 3, and I won the match.
Nice.
So, yeah, the Drolls came in, and I'm glad that I didn't take them out. But I'm really happy how the side performed. Like I said, I was, I wasn't losing to the big blowout cards. My strat was just playing kind of very safe and very generic, very standard. Like I feel like all these cards were pretty safe to side in, and they did their job. I don't have to I see D-Bear and I just set it. I don't have to set it up.
Speaking of playing safe, how did you go about like your matches? Like, we just go in the game 1, balls to the wall, and then game 2 play more conservatively, or kind of what was the strategy there?
Yeah, so my strat, game 1s, I was playing really safe, and depending on my hands on like what I was drawing, like if I was drawing a bunch of non-engine, I liked on top of so the way I like to play the deck, I go wide. Like again, shout out to Curtis for making that board that destroyed me 4 games in a row. So you just end on 4 big bodies on board with the birth, and you have non-engines to back it up. If you don't open the non-engine, then you might want to put your eggs on the basket to just make this, and hopefully you survive. But I was going wide, putting bodies on board, and that board was like, it was, people weren't able to break it. And on the crackback, like if they don't out my unicorn, that's a Rhoda, or my Fenrir, that's a Rhoda, or my bird, that's follow up, then I win the game from there. People would just scoop if they couldn't even break the board. That's how I was playing. And I was playing like that, and I was playing around Nib. And then game 2, I was playing the same way, respecting Nib. But yeah, the deck performed really well. And I also, I think the main reason, one of the reasons I also decided to play this deck for the event was, this is my 2nd regional ever. And the first one, I remember it was like such a long event, right? It's so many rounds, like 9 to 10 rounds. And I was playing Dragon League back then, and by round 5, I was just so done. I was so tired. With respect to all those people who are playing those crazy combo decks, and they're doing well later into the rounds. I wanted to play something simple. Kashtira is very simple, and as long as you know matchups, and you know where to interact with those matchups, and you'll have a good time. If you look at the top 8% of Clara regionals, all those decks have something in common besides tier. They're all straightforward and really they're very simple to play, and they're very strong at what they do. You had Flunder, Kashtira, Labyrinth, Despia, or Branded Chimera, and Tier. Tier was the only one that was crazy to see in top 8. But yeah, all those decks are really like really simple decks to play, and they get the job done. They don't have to do anything fancy like Vanadium, where they're, oh, I gotta open 2 cards to make my crazy board. You know?
Yeah, why play combo when you can activate D shifter and win the game?
No, Shifter was in my hand a lot, and I was just drawing really well.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Like I said, I'm proud of you, and I'm glad you finally won a regional. Well, I guess maybe not finally, but I'm glad that you won a regional, and I'm proud of you. So, is there any last minute things you want to talk about, or?
No, I mean, it was like a really fun event. Everyone was like, besides one person, everyone was like really nice to me, super friendly.
Yep, well, that's awesome, man. Like I said, I'm proud of you. Good job, and thanks for sharing your insight with the deck.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.